LSU has a new offensive coordinator, and they have a new passing game coordinator. Tigers came to terms and officially announced Jake Peetz, the Carolina Panthers quarterbacks coach, as their next offensive coordinator. DJ Mangas, who was an offensive assistant here previously under Joe Brady, is now the passing game coordinator. And so this was very much an expected hire if the interview went well.
Yeah.
The interview went well. These came off of extensive recommendations from Joe Brady, and they're attempting to bring back some of the I don't say bring back.
Don't say bring back the magic. We don't say that around here.
No, I didn't say bring back the magic. It is to reemphasize the things that Brady brought to the table in 2019.
And DJ's a guy that I talked about probably 10 days ago. That first day I was hosting when you were out, I did a full segment on DJ Mangas, and at that time we didn't know that he was going to interview, but it made too much sense for me. Yep. He's been a coordinator at the college level. He was one of the youngest offensive coordinators in college football when he took over at William & Mary. He is Joe Brady's right-hand man. I mean, they are tied together. I mean, he knows this offense inside and out. He was here in 19, okay, with Joe Brady. And then Joe Brady, when he became a coordinator, he said, no, my guy's got to come with me. So that tells you what he thinks of DJ Mangas. And so when they reached out to Joe Brady, it was a no-brainer. I mean, DJ Mangas is a guy that is an up-and-coming coach. We know more about him because he was at LSU during that 2019 season. This one makes a lot of sense. And obviously Jake Peetz has 10 years of coaching experience in the NFL. He's been an offensive assistant at Alabama and other places. He played defense at Nebraska, so he's been in big-time programs as well. We don't know as much about him, but he's definitely got a resume.
And he spent some time in the league. He's
10
been
years, yeah.
You brought up this yesterday. He went back for seconds with Saban.
Yep.
There's something to that.
And both sides have to want that for you to go back for seconds.
Right. And there's a lot of guys that'll do a term with Nick in the interest of getting it on the resume, getting yourself advanced, or in some cases rehabilitated. A lot of guys don't go back. It's sort of like, repeating a grade in school. You do it so you can advance. You don't want to go back and do it again unless you were real comfortable with it and you felt like it did you some good. So that's a positive. They obviously feel pretty comfortable about this. They had plenty of time to vet these candidates. They had any number of ways they could have gone with this. Budget's not really a problem.
Right.
Okay. So you picked the guys you wanted. They took their time. We think that they did their due diligence. They did their interviews. They hired the guys they wanted. So let's see.
And they have been in the market for offensive coordinator, but it's no secret that Coach Ensminger was, looking to retire at some point. I think he almost had to be talked into coming back, maybe even last year, right? So he was coming towards the end of his career. So you start to, look a little bit just on the outside looking in for a couple of candidates. So they've probably been looking at this for, multiple weeks, maybe even months now.
The basis of what you want is in. I'm not expecting an overhaul of what they did. Offensively, they did a lot of good things last year.
Yep.
It wasn't perfect. I've said a number of times on this show, and I believe this, that Joe Brady, had he come back in 2020, was not going to be able to replicate 2019. Even if Chase had come back, even if Marshall had played all the way to the end. I mean, 3 different quarterbacks, that's a challenge for anybody, man. That would have been a challenge for Steve Spurrier himself, although some years he used multiple quarterbacks
Handy, sometimes
on purpose.
If you got 2 quarterbacks, you really don't have one, do you?
Trying to navigate through a starter that got injured, that had his status in question for a while, and then having to choose between 2 freshmen and re-choose, that would have been challenging for anybody. And I know that the Scott Linehan piece didn't work, but I would say to you that even if they wouldn't have had the opt-outs and Chase had come back for the whole season and they'd had to rotate 3 quarterbacks and go through with that, even Brady would have had a hard time going back. Joe Burrow was really, really good. in case nobody noticed.
It's
Trying
okay.
trying to replace
If you like that kind of thing.
Joe Burrow with a first-time starter and then 2 freshmen as first-time starters would have been a challenge for anybody. So you're not going to overhaul, I don't think, schematically what you're doing offensively because you had a lot of those pieces in place last year. What I am anxious to see is the personal touches that you put on it. One of the things that Brady did that was just really exceptional was the different route combinations that they put together that always seemed to have receivers in the right position. I mean, how many times did you see guys that were running just, wow, look, that guy's open. And then Burrow took that to the next extreme to where he threw guys open and defensive back turned his back, and God bless, because you're going in that direction. So the third down things, the red zone things, I would say that you also have a young receiving core coming back, and if you did nothing more than get yourself back to a situation where you were dropping a lot less balls. 2019, they didn't drop many balls. In 2020, they dropped a lot. 2018, they dropped a lot.
They did.
If these guys don't do anything other than come in here and get the drop rate back to somewhere close to 19, just the drop rate. I'm not talking about anything specifically, schematically, really exotic. I'm just talking about catching football.
One of the things that they did really well, to your point, they weren't afraid to attack all areas of the field.
Yeah.
For so many years, it's like they had police tape in between the hashes at LSU. Like you could not throw the football in between the hashes. It was only going to go to the hash and the outside.
I'm of the opinion that was a less thing, but that's just my opinion.
Well, there was
it continued after him, but old habits.
So they came in and they're like, you know what? We can run slant routes. We can run drags. We can run dig routes. We can run stuff in the middle of the field and challenge defenses. And that's what they did. They did it every single play. And their route concepts, they always looked clean and crisp, right? They benefited each other, right? What LSU's defense struggled with this year? 2-man route combinations. Absolutely struggled with it. Well, LSU made other teams do that in 2019, right? They'd put those 2-man out there. They had everything up in their playbook. Joe would get them to the right play, and they would go out there and they would flourish. And so that's some of the things that I'm excited about. Run game-wise, I think people forget that LSU ran the football extremely well in 2019, right? I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a first-round pick for a reason. Yeah, he could catch the football. He was good in pass pro, but you're talking about a guy that ran for over 1,200 yards. I mean, they did a really nice job of creating runs that we all know, power, ISO, inside and outside zone, but from different ways. Like Clyde would start lined up out wide. They would shift Thaddeus Moss into kind of a wing position. Then they'd bring Clyde Edwards-Helaire back into the backfield, and they'd run ISO. That's an I formation run play back in the old days, but that's the way that they would get to that play. Thaddeus Moss would read the defense. He'd read the 3 technique. He'd get up on the Mike linebacker. Clyde would read his block, and off we go, and you're hitting your head on the goalpost. That's being creative in the run game. That's a lot of things I saw in 2019 that I really enjoyed when Joe Brady was here and helping out Steve.
So the one question I would have regarding these 2 appointments, Peetz and Mangas, is where does this leave Russ Callaway? Because it's been reported, I think it was Dellinger headed first. I could be wrong, but I think it was Dellinger headed first, that he has been is going to be an on-field coach. He's been an analyst, going to be an on-field coach. We thought at the beginning of all this that passing game coordinator might make some sense for him. Now that position is filled. So where does that leave him? I don't know. We'll ask Ed that question the next time he.
Well, you can have Mickey Joseph coach your receivers. DJ or Jake can help at that position. One of them's going to go to quarterbacks. One of them's going to go to receiver probably.
I would think that Peetz is going to coach the quarterbacks. That's what he's always done.
Yeah, and DJ played the position, so you got your choice there. Okay, whatever. And when you look at the tight end position, I keep going back to it because that's somewhere you can place someone, because we all assume that you're going to have a D-line coach, you're going to have a linebackers coach who is the defense coordinator, you're going to have Corey Raymond coach all the defensive backs, so you get a spot back. You get that Bill Bush spot back that if you want to put it on the offense at tight end, you can place it there. And so, and there's teams across the country that have an inside receivers coach and an outside receivers coach, whatever, however you want to do that. However you want to get him on the field, you have the flexibility because you have that extra spot from defense. Now the defense might want to keep that spot.
Yeah, you're talking about a 6-3 split, offensive and defensive coaches. If you do that, and then the special teams coach would be the 10th.
You had some GAs. Christian Lockjaw was a GA. He was a guy that did a really nice job. So Coach O trusts a guy like that. So you can get creative with your staff. If we've already heard that he's going to have a position, I'm just trying to make it fit in place here. But you do have the ability to have an extra staff member if you do, in fact, go to only one defensive backs coach, which, the split might not be like that, but you have the potential to do something like that.